Okay, we are on. I think we're good. Yeah. You want to send to the group your own that one? Okay. Morning. How are you? Haven't seen you in a while. Things are over. School's over. Okay. Very good. Good. Yourself? I wanted to follow up with you. We don't know yet. Work on it, too. He can work on it, do also doing himself. Yeah. On the computer. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Yaron, you sent to the group? Looks like they're able to get on. Okay. We're doing good on the timing. It's before 8:30 and we're starting. I think that's all right. Mr. Haber, I think that's good, yeah? Okay. We are on Mem Gimel Amabed. We were mentioning the 6 things yesterday that are Talmid Chacham, that would be Genai Talmid Chacham. 6 things that if a Talmid Chacham, a Torah scholar, would do any of these 6 things, it would be not nice, not respectful, not proper for the Talmid Chacham, not proper for the Torah scholar to act in such a way. And we said Mem Gimel Amud Beis 43b. We said the first thing we said, he shouldn't go out to the market with perfume. He shouldn't go out with the market to perfume. And the Gemara explained that's talking about in a place where the people are suspected to men having relations with other men, chas v'shalom, and in such a place, it would, if the Talmid Chacham would go out with a beautiful fragrance, with that type of smell, it might have the impression that chas v'shalom is trying to attract somebody, attract another man. You able to get on? It looks like it's good. It looks right. It looks good, right? The Zoom, you all right? Yeah, but see if you can get on. It should be good. No one's on. I just want to make sure that we did it, that it's set up properly. The second thing we said, he shouldn't go out alone at night, right? He shouldn't go out alone at night. And if he goes out alone at night, he shouldn't go out around that area. He shouldn't go out alone at night because people might think good morning that he's going out alone at night. Maybe he's going to have some sort of looking for a woman at night. Okay, very good. What's considered Talmid Chacham? So they say, sometimes, obviously, a person is very learned, spent a number of years learning that is of big scholarship. Sometimes we say a person who's learning in Kollel might be a status of a Talmid Chacham. You're able to. It looks like is it working or not? Your own. Someone. Yes, you want to check maybe Akiva. You want to see if it's working. It's working. Yeah, it's working. Okay, very good. Okay, that's the second thing we said, that Talmid Chacham shouldn't go alone at night. And the Gemara said yesterday that's only if he's going alone at night, not at a designated time. Designated time he's going to his teacher's class, his rabbi's class, it's not a problem. Everyone knows he's going to his rabbi's class. But if he has no schedule and he's going out at different times, then there's a problem. People might come to suspect, where's the rabbi going? Now, the rabbi, if you're a Torah scholar, you're held to a higher standard, right? Yeah, right, Ariel. And therefore you morning Joseph. And therefore he has to be extra careful. That was the second thing we said. The third thing, now that in the Gemara, 4 lines into the wide lines towards the bottom, about 8 lines from the bottom of the page. Morning, Mr. Amos. 4 lines into the wide lines. Talmid Chacham. It says that it's not nice for a Talmid Chacham to go out with his shoes being patched up. It says, "Ayetzei b'menalim b'mamatulayim." The Talmid Chacham should not go out with shoes that are all patched up. That means the shoes were ripped and they were patched up. It's not. So it's not respectful that the Talmid Chacham should wear such. Because the Talmid Chacham is supposed to, the Rambam talks about. I think the clothing of a Talmid Chacham, it shouldn't be fancy, but it shouldn't be too disrespectful, so to speak, in between type of thing. So it says, what did you say?
If he has a stand in it,
right, it's a big deal. Right, he has to be very cleanliness. It's a good point. I mean, someone who represents the Torah should be the Talmid Chacham. Meaning, even it's a good point. If people recognize him as a Talmid Chacham, right? He doesn't have to. Good question. Good question.
Morning.
Morning, Sammy. So the Gemara says, "Va'yetzei b'menalim hamatulaim." We say you should not go out with shoes that have these patches. So the Gemara says, "Messiah leil Rav Chia bar Abba." This is in support of Chia bar Abba. The Rav Chia bar Abba genayu leTalmid Chacham. It's not respectful for the Talmid Chacham sheyetzei b'menalim hamatulaim, that he should go out with patches on the shoes. So the shoes is patched. So the Gemara says, "Oma mazuta b'rei Rav Nachman." So the Gemara says, "Eini, is it so?" For Rav Chia bar Abba nafi. Rav Chia bar Abba, he was a big scholar, and even though he was a big scholar, he was a Talmid Chacham. He went out with his shoes that had a patch. So you just told me that he's not supposed to go out with a shoe with a patch, and here we see that he went ahead, that he went out with a shoe with a patch, and obviously he followed the law. He followed the halacha. The rabbi followed the halacha. He was the real deal. So you told me, you told me it's not nice for the Talmid Chacham. So the Gemara clarifies, when we say you shouldn't go out with a patch, we mean that's only if it's a patch on top of a patch, like multiple patches, one on top of the other. It's ripped there and it was fixed, and the ripped there and another fixed. When it's multiple patches, a patch on top of the patch, that's not nice. But the fact that he ripped his shoe a certain amount, you patched it one patch, that's fine. But a double patch, a patch on top of a patch, good morning Avram, good morning Shmuel, that is not respectful.
Good morning.
Good morning. And the point is, I presume the point is the following: when someone's a Talmid Chacham, when someone's a Torah scholar, if he's wearing patch upon patch, then people are not going to respect him. And the point is, good morning, Sammy, it's not about respecting him; it's more about respecting what he represents. And if they don't respect him, then they're not going to listen to what he has to say. The Talmid Chacham is supposed to be giving over the word of Hashem. He's supposed to be saying what Hashem is saying, and therefore they're not going to be listening to the word of Hashem. So therefore, the Talmid Chacham, he doesn't just represent himself. He's supposed to be he represents what the Torah, and that's for when a Talmid Chacham acts inappropriately, it becomes a very chilul Hashem. Because since he's a Talmid Chacham, he's a Torah scholar, how can he do that? You do that, people look, and then they look at the Torah, and then people look in a negative way when the Talmid Chacham doesn't act appropriately. That's why it's a big chilul Hashem. What do you say? Say it again.
He listened to you before
Very good.
always like us.
Right. But we say the Talmid Chacham shouldn't overdo it. He shouldn't wear the most fanciest clothing. That's right. But like Mr. Amos says, when a person's dressed a certain way.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning, Yosef. But they're given a certain respect. The Gemara says, interesting, there's the Gemara that says, Mr. Amos and everybody, that if, let's say, somebody's parent passed away, the father passed away, and the children, now the oldest brother runs the family finances. And we say he could take the estate, pays money for the oldest brother to wear a certain type of clothing, because as that, if he wears a certain level of clothing, people will respect him when he does business. And therefore, it's not called that it's for himself. It's more of the bigger picture that people will listen. That's why, and that's why the state will be happy to pay for such an expense. So the Gemara says, "V'lo amaron ela b'panta." That's only if the patch is on the top of the shoe, the front of the shoe that everyone is able to see. Well, what about on the bottom of the shoe? Sometimes, no one sees what's going on at the bottom of the shoe. Do you wear taps on your shoe? I don't know. You got to look at your shoe. No, you know if you wear taps on your shoe. Not everybody knows if you're wearing what's going on the bottom. What type of heel? What does it look like? What color is the bottom of your heel? That people don't look at that. So if it's patched up underneath the shoe, on the heel of the shoe, that's no problem. You can have as many patches underneath on the shoe that's necessary. Of a begilda less lamba, but if it's on the sole of the shoe, then there's no problem. With pantan lo amaron, and even if it's on the top of the shoe, the front of the shoe, the top of the shoe, that's only if you're when you're going outside. But if in your privacy of your own home, of a beita less lamba. But if you're wearing it in your house, which means that therefore you're not in public, so it's not considered inappropriate, disrespectful if the Talmid Chacham is wearing such a thing in the privacy of his own home. It's only if he goes out in public and such a thing would be a problem. The Gemara says, "V'lo amaron ela b'yomos hachama." It's only during the summertime. The summertime where the roads are clear and it's not muddy and all that. But if it's in the winter time, so anyways, the dirt or anyways covers the shoe a lot. So therefore, there wouldn't even be a problem if you would be having multiple patches on the front of your shoe. Of b'yamos hakshamim less lamba. But when it's during the winter time, where they didn't have streets like we have today. Everything was very muddy when it rained, and so on and so forth. God bless you. So therefore, because it's not so recognizable, there's no problem for the Talmid Chacham if you're wearing such shoes during the winter. So he could use those shoes for the winter. Comes the summer, he has to put away those shoes because they have multiple patches on the front, and then he has to take out his summer shoes. What do you say?
Most of the Talmid Chacham were poor.
They were very poor. Right, a lot of them were very poor, and as a result of that, this is an issue that they have to discuss. Like Mr. Amma said, why is the Gemara telling us about the patch on top of patch? Because this could be this is a more common possibility by Torah scholars, because many of them were not very wealthy, as we know, because they rather spend more time studying than being in the office. And even people today, what?
From the mouth of the Torah comes out.
Right. It says it's right. Correct. It says even today, people should know. Yeah, people should go ahead and try to figure out how they should put more time. Not only the Talmid Chacham puts time into learning, the working man might not be the Torah scholar, needs to be creative and figure out how he could put more time studying Torah. The Chafetz Chaim has a sefer. Good morning, everybody. Mike, I gave a share last.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Morning. I give a share every Monday and Thursday at 12:15, and I've been doing on Mondays the sefer. I've been doing the writings of the Chafetz Chaim. The Chafetz Chaim wrote many different svarim. Everybody knows of the sefer Chafetz Chaim, Avat Chesed, but he wrote many svarim. Some women stopped going to the mikveh in Europe. Terrible. So he wrote a sefer called Tarat Yisrael. He wrote many different svarim, and he wrote one sefer he called Torah Habayit. It's called Torah of the House, where he writes about the importance that a person has to go ahead when you're home. You have time in your house. You're supposed to be studying Torah. That's what a person is supposed to be spending his time. But people need to realize today, people are spending their time watching television, watching the news, and all that other stuff. And what really the Chafetz Chaim writes, that the mitzvah of the Torah, when you're sitting in your house, when you're traveling, you're supposed to be learning. learning is a constant mitzvah. Yes, you have the ability to go ahead and take off from learning to go to work. You finish work, supposed to be learning. Of course, you need a little time to relax. You have a little time to relax, but you don't. But you have to realize you have to be spending your time focusing on learning. Okay. Vayisaper im isha b'shuk. And he says, by the way, it's not enough just to say, I have a set time to learn Torah. Set time is only when you're busy the rest of the time working. So then you could say you have your set time learning. But when you're not busy, you have the obligation to learn. You hear that? Now, what?
If they study Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives them more time.
Yes, if you study Torah, Hashem will give you a bullet taheh, Messiah, Hashem will make it easier for you. Vayisapem isha b'shuk. It says you shouldn't, another thing that Torah scholar has to be careful, you shouldn't be speaking to a woman in public, in the marketplace. In the public, in front of everybody, the Torah scholar should not be having a conversation with a woman in public. Amar Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda says, and interesting, I feel him ishto. Even his wife, why can't he what's wrong with having a conversation with your wife? Because not everybody knows that she's your wife. That's the problem. Meaning, because not everyone knows that she's your wife. Here's the rabbi, and he's conversing with a woman. Not everyone knows what the person's wife looks like. And there's a concern that people might start suspecting that he's having, he's being involved with women. And therefore he should not be engaged in such conversation. And then the Gemara says, Tanya Nami Hachi. It's not only a wife, by the way. The Gemara says his daughter, his sister. People don't know this is his daughter. People don't know this is his sister. They might think this is a strange woman who's not his daughter, who's not his sister, who's not his wife, and he's being overly social with this woman. And it's not modest. So therefore it says, Tanya Nami Hachi, I feel what? A Talmud Chacham. A Torah scholar, this is called a Genai. This is called not respectful. He's held to a higher standard. Tanya Nami Hachi. Afilu hi ishto. Even if it's his wife. Afilu hi pito. Even if she's his daughter. Afilu hi achoto. Even if it's sister. The fi she'ein hakol bikiyim bikrovotav. Not everybody knows who his relatives are. Not everyone knows this is the rabbi's wife. This is the rabbi's daughter. It's the rabbi's sister. Everybody knows it's the rabbi's sister. They see the rabbi conversing with this woman in public, and people come to make assumptions. Chas v'sholom. Now you should know, it's interesting. We're talking about talking in public with a woman. I want to mention here, we have a lot of young people here at the table. Not only young, it applies to everybody. Even the people who are married more than a few years, is that in public, the law states a man with his wife needs to act a certain way in public, meaning to say, they're not supposed to be doing things of let's say, kissing his wife in public, or other things like that. You're not supposed to kiss your wife in public, that type of thing. Meaning to say, acting because, or do things, people do certain things in public. I personally will say, I'm going to go on record. It might sound a little controversial, but I got to say I'll say. You shouldn't be holding hands with your wife in public. That's not supposed to be done in public.
Nobody can tell you what he said.
What did you say, Mr. Amos?
Nobody can tell
Nobody
you what he said.
Okay.
Because it's emet.
It's emet. It's the truth. The law. You're not supposed to be holding hands with your wife in public. Meaning, of course, we're talking about when she's a nidah. Of course, you can't be holding your wife's hand in public. But even when she's not a nidah, even when she's not a nidah, correct. Even though she's 100% clean, she's not a nidah. You shouldn't be holding hands with your wife. And your wife has to forgive me. After you ask your wife forgiveness, tell your wife to forgive me. But you shouldn't be doing that. Why not? Because the halacha states, not Rabbi Friedman's law. It's not Rabbi Friedman creates. I don't create any laws. Anything I say is based on what I've seen, my knowledge that I know, is because when you hold your hands with your wife in public, other people who see, they start thinking things. And the problem is not between you and your wife holding your wife's hand in public. Technically, if you would be in a place and you're in a private place, in a private Nobody sees. There's no problem. You hold your wife's hand in a private place. There's no problem. You went to your own island and your own place, and you're holding your wife's hands in public, and whatever, you're outdoors, but nobody's there. There's no problem. To my knowledge, there's no problem. The problem is when someone else sees you hold your wife's hand in public. And then, chas v'shalom, their mind starts thinking, because you're showing a certain level of affect, type of affection. You're being physical with your wife, and there's a thing, a person has to keep their mind clear that they shouldn't have thoughts. And if they see you act a certain way with your wife, it could chas v'shalom cause the other person thoughts that are inappropriate. And that's the halacha to my knowledge. Anybody shows me otherwise, please, I'm happy to hear otherwise. This is what I saw, black and white. You look at the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch from Rabbi Shlomo Ganzfeld, it should be, everybody should agree to this. I don't think anybody, the only question will be, is there a possibility of somebody who's holding, maybe I wonder if it's an older couple, let's say they're married for 50 years, or the older couple, maybe when they're holding hands in public, I wonder, maybe people might not have any thoughts. I'm not giving the allowance, anybody. I'm not giving the allowance. I'm just saying. What say? Yeah, one of them might fall, no problem, right? Like the rabbi of the Young Israel in Manhattan, his wife, he's rabbi for over 50 years. His wife helps him. They walk in the street. She's holding him walking. That's not an act of affection. Even if a young couple, someone's holding them because they're afraid they're going to fall, that's not a problem. Meaning, if you're holding your wife because you're 25 years old and you're married and you're holding your wife and you're afraid that she's going to fall, you're not holding it in a way, if it's clear that you're holding her, she's going to fall, it's not a problem. We're talking about, I'm just sharing something that maybe many people never heard no one ever spoke about this, but I have to say what I got to say. Yes. I mean, if it's obvious it's your mother's hand, again, obviously it's obvious to people that it's your mother, and no one's thinking, but that's the idea. All right, everybody, all the young men, all the young married have to remember that. Don't show affection. Don't be physical with your wife in front of other people. Yes.
If you know that with the new generation, sometimes the new generation.
The fact that the new generation might want it, but it's up to you. It's up to you, the man, to educate. You need to. Ze gaan weer staan.
It is a cop-out. You cannot do it.
You have to explain to them, Ariel, right. The answer is the new generation does not know. They're not sensitive. Many of them are not sensitive to it. You have to explain to them. You have to explain to them. That's the job of the husband, to explain to the wife that she should understand that this is hell has nothing to do with you. We're not here to show off to everybody. We're not here to cause these problems to other people. And then when you're in your privacy of your own home, you do what you want. But in public, you have to realize, you have to explain it to her. You don't want to cause someone else to sin. You don't want to be the cause of someone else to sin. That's the issue. Nothing wrong between you and your wife. It's about the other guy sinning. You don't want to cause that. You don't want to have that on your plate. Good? Okay, let's continue in the Gemara. It says you should not sit. We have 4 lines from the bottom, everybody. What'd you say? Okay, we're going to discuss that right now. It says you should not sit and hang out, sit with Amei Aretz, uneducated people who, we're talking about uneducated, we're talking about people who their lifestyle is not a proper, they're living not a proper lifestyle. And therefore the concern is if you sit with these guys, that everything is a joke. The whole life is a joke. Nothing is serious in life. They might pull you in. They might pull you into this type of, it might have a very negative effect on you. The Chafetz Chaim says, what's in it? Gavi? What's in it? Gavi. The Chafetz Chaim says, but if you're sitting with these people in order to mechazek them, you're a rabbi, and you want to sit with these people, these guys are, these are the jokesters. But the reason why these are the guys that they take nothing serious in life, but you're sitting with them because you want to influence them, you want to mashpia on them. Then of course you go hang out with those guys too. But if you just to help them, make them better, make them stronger. But if you're sitting with these people who are just nothing is serious in life for them, and you're just sitting, you have an opportunity, let's say, to go sit down at a table. You decide to sit with them, then that's a wrong thing to do. Ayasev b'chabura shalom haaretz my timer dilma asilim shuchei batrayu. Maybe he's going to go ahead and follow them. It's an amazing thing. That means you could be a Torah scholar, but the influence that people could have on you, even you're a Torah scholar, if you hang out with these people who are Amei Haaretz, and you sit with them, and they start telling you about their mentality, their hashkafa, they tell you what they think is important in life, right, which is nonsense, let's say, then they could have a negative influence on you, and you will follow them. So it's an amazing thing. By the way, the Talmud Chacham also has a Yetzer Hara, by the way. He can also fall. He has to be careful too. So that's what the Gemara is saying, and it's not nice. You, the Torah scholar, sitting with these people who are just jokesters. These are the guys that they don't care about anything serious in life. You're not supposed to be sitting with those type of people. Unless, like we said, you're coming to help them. What? Need to tell you that? Because very good. Because it could be a Torah scholar is generally supposed to be humble, right? Everyone's supposed to be humble. But if you're a learned person, you learn that you have to be humble. That's one of the 48 ways that Torah is acquired with anava. So when you're humble, you might say, "Oh, what's the big deal if I sit with these people?" So when you're humble, you have to be. Sometimes it could lead to. You have to be careful. You don't hold of yourself. I'm a special person. Then I'll sit with these guys. But you don't realize that these guys can influence you too. You know what it says? It says if you're a tzaddik and you hang out with Rishayim, you become a Rasha. And you're Rasha, you hang out with tzaddikim, you become a tzaddik. That's the only morning, doctor. That's the only time. I'm thinking only. I don't think it's the point. Is you have to know each case. You have to know what the right decision to do in each situation.
I think that some one says, "Blessed is the man who does not the counsel of the wicked."
Right. Now the Gemara says, "Vayikones achrona lebeis medrash." Right? It says you're not supposed to be the last guy into the Beit Midrash. If you're the rabbi, you're not supposed to be you're the Talmud Chacham. You're the Torah scholar, and then everybody's coming. And who comes to the Beit Midrash? Not just Talmud Chachamim. The person who's not a Talmud Chacham also comes to the Beit Midrash. You, the Talmud Chacham, should not be the last one into the Beit Midrash, because then people will say the Talmud Chacham is lazy. If you're the last one into the Beit Midrash, let's say there's a kollel, and then you have the kollel, and you have working people come to the kollel, so the kollel guy needs to come before the work. It should be the last guy in. Should not be the kollel guy. Because then it doesn't look good. The people will say he's lazy. It doesn't look good. Listen, if you're the kollel guy, you shouldn't be the last guy in. You're supposed to be earlier because you understand Torah and a higher. You're a Talmud Chacham. Mishum dekori lei posheya, because the people will call him lazy, and again that's not respectful for the Torah. If you're a Torah scholar, people should call you lazy. It's not nice.
It says when you want to cut your nails, you cut them in a bet midrash. That's what best.
Right.
Because
women don't.
They give.
Right, Mr. Amos is right.
Today, you cannot do it because women have access to it.
Right, you should know. Mr. Amos is saying something. I'm going to share from Rav David Feinstein, and I saw myself. Rav David Feinstein in the Beit Midrash. There was a time that I once saw him cut his nails. He used to spend his time in the Beit Midrash. He cut his nails in the Beit Midrash because where he sat, no women would come. So technically, if you cut your nails in a Beit Midrash, because it says that if a lady is pregnant and she walks past nails, it would be a problem that she might chas v'shalom miscarry. But in a Beit Midrash, the Gemara says that where women, in a place where the women will not walk, there's no problem of cutting your nails in such a place. Technically, in a place where nobody will, no women would come. But today, Mr. Amos says, where do you have that women don't come? Maybe, today's day and age, women come to almost all places. But again, there's certain places that a lady, where lady will not come. There's no problem of, in the Beit Midrash, of cutting the nails. Technically, if it's only a men's mikveh, technically it shouldn't be a problem. Technically, shouldn't be. I can't tell you al pi Kabbalah. I can't tell you al pi Kabbalah if the Kabbalah will say not to do. You have to wash your hands but I can't tell you al pi Kabbalah if they're going to tell you to leave the nails there. But according to the Gemara says there's no problem in a place where ladies don't go. That's what the Gemara says. Yes. What? That again, that's already going into Kabbalah or whatever, other things. That may be the other issue. There are issues. You do need to wash your hands. Yes, you do need to wash your hands after you cut your nails, right? That's the halal. You wash your hands after you cut the nails. Correct. But the issue, what we said about the Beit Midrash, the issue is the nails, you have to be careful where women will walk. That's where you have to be extra careful. That's where you got to be careful. Okay. V'yesh omrim, the Gemara says, V'yesh omrim, af lo yafsia p'sia gasa. The Talmud Chacham has to be, it's not nice if he goes ahead and he walks large steps. If he takes very large strides. What's the problem with taking large steps? Because large steps, if you take them, it will affect your vision. We have a doctor in the house here, Dr. Gindi, but it says, the Gemara says it will affect your vision if you take very large steps. It has a negative effect on your vision. And therefore, as a result of that, so one of the commentaries say a beautiful idea. A Talmud Chacham, needs his vision is very important for him as well. Besides, everybody needs vision, but there's certain things he needs to see. Let's say, like it says by David HaMelech, do you bring to the rabbi sometimes the woman, when a married woman has a kasem, a question, certain halachic questions, they have to show the rabbi, and if the rabbi's vision is no good, he won't be able to paskin, he won't be able to decide the law properly. And therefore it's very important that he should, that's one idea why his vision should be, that he has to be careful about the vision. The Amama, Sia Gasa Notelet Echan Mechamesh Meot Mimor Einav Shel Adam. If a person takes large steps, it could take away 1/500th of the vision of a person could be diminished as a result of, and the way Tosfos said, as a result of the large steps. And the Gemara says, "My takate." What? No. Yeah. So the commentators explain it's not each step is 500. The first step is 1/500. Everything else is, everything is of that proportionally of what's left over. 500, what's left over. However that the math on that. Right. Exactly. Right. Exactly. Now that's one opinion, and some say it's only the first step takes the 500, and the rest of the steps don't. It's only that first big step. That's what some say. Others say differently. Now, the Gemara says, "My takante," right, Mr. Amos, right? What does a person do? Yariel, Yaron, everybody. What does a person do if right? But it's something that's something unique that the Talmud Chacham must be extra careful about. That it's not nice if he goes ahead and he does that. My takante, how does he fix it up? Kiddush Friday night will go ahead and help restore the vision. Now, what does it mean? Kiddush Friday night will help restore the vision. So Rashi says that you drink. Rashi. So some say you look, Ariel. Some say you look at the candles. You look at the candles before you make kiddush. Right, Havdalah, we put the wine in our eyes. Okay, yeah. But Rashi says by drinking the cup of wine. Rashi says the drinking of the cup of wine will bring back the what? The vision. And the Ramah, I think the Ashkenaz rabbi brings down by looking at the candles, before you make Kiddush, that will help. And what did you say? I have to see the language, right? I think it's around Kiddush time.
Yes,
So-
I think you look to see your face on the wine.
Uh-huh. But you should know, I saw, generally by Shabbat, you have candles, everyone lights a minimum of 2 candles on Shabbat, correct? Ner equals, what's the gematria of Ner? Nun Reish is 250. 2 candles, what? 500. So you look at the candles, and that will bring back, you lost 1/500 of your vision. That were the candles that equal 500, that will help bring back your vision. Now, how does it work? We have to see more why. How does it work? But that's just Ner times 2 is 500, and that will bring back your vision. That the 500 will take care of the 1/500 of the vision that a person lost. Yes. Times
152.
right, 500. Right.
For a woman and 248 of a man. Together is 500.
Uh-huh. Very good, beautiful. Yes. No, I don't think so. No. Remember? No, that's the way he's trying his. Now Rashi says, we're not talking about. I'm not saying you should go to Atlantic City and go gambling. That I'm not saying. Now, some say they actually put the wine in the eye, like we do Motzei Shabbat, but we don't Friday night. I don't know our custom. I don't think we don't have that. I don't know if you have the custom. Right. But the language of the Gemara is Kiddush. Friday night brings back the wine. So there were people that actually on Friday night they would put the wine by their eyes. And that's some have that. That's Tosfos and Psachim says that. Okay, let's continue in the Gemara. The Gemara says, "Va'al yahalech b'koma zekufa." Everybody have the Gemara? Va'al yahalech b'koma zekufa. 2 lines from the bottom. Joseph, you got it? It says you should not walk with a koma zekufa. It should not walk with a walking standing like you own the world with your head up like that, walking in the streets like that. It's a sign of gava. So what does the Gemara say? The Omamar Hamahalech Bikoma Zekufa. You have the Gemara, everybody? If you, Akiva, you see 2 lines from the bottom? If you walk with a Koma Zekufa, if you walk with it in such a, so upright, I feel Arba Amos, but even if you only walk 4 Amos, which is a very short amount of 4 to 6 feet, 4 Amos is, 6 to 8 feet is 4 Amos. Ki'ilu dochek raglei hashchina. It's as if you're pushing away and stepping on the Shechina. Tiksiv, malei kol haaretz kvodo. Hashem is malei kol haaretz kvodo, and it's like you're pushing. It's like you're not showing respect to Hashem when you go ahead and the way they say it, it's as if you're pushing. It's like you're pushing away the Shekhinah. That because Hashem is in front of you, you have to have a certain respect. And if you walk like that, that's not.
Rabbi, if you do what, Rabbi?
If you walk like this in the street, you walk. You're supposed to walk with a little bit with humility. You're not supposed to walk like that. That's a sign of arrogance. Is that clear?
So when you drive,
You have to drive with properly too. Okay. Now, yes.
They said that you want to feel better, you want to before you go to walk up the street, go. They also want to make.
Okay, now on the Mishnah. Everyone have the Mishnah? Mem Dalet Amud Aleph. Mazel Tov on the next page. Mem Dalet Amud Aleph. Yes. Heviu lefanav is the last blot, last daf of the parak. Heviu lefanav maliach. If they brought in front of you a salted food, tchila, they brought a salted food for you to eat, and upatimo, and they brought bread with it. We're talking about a salted food that you needed the bread to get down the food because it was so salty, and that was what the bread was helping you with the salty food, and also maybe to take away some of that salt that you just ate in order you should feel comfortable. The point of the bread is not that you're eating the bread. This is a case when you're not eating the bread for the bread. You're eating the bread because of the salty food that you ate. So, mevarech ala maliach. So here it says you make the bracha on the salty food and not on the bread. Here's a situation that the bread will not say, you will not say hamotzi on the bread. The bread is serving the salted food. And you make a bracha on the maliach, upoteh es hapat. And that will cover the bread. Why? Shapat feilalo. This is a case that the bread is secondary to the salty food is secondary to the bread. In general, when you have a motzi, you have the bread, and all the other foods of the meal are considered secondary to the bread. They're covered by the bread. It's a bread meal, and everything is covered. That's why if you don't have a kazayit of bread, you don't cover all the foods. If you don't have an ounce of bread at your meal, the other foods are not covered because you didn't have enough to cover everything else. But if you have a kazayit of bread, it covers everything else is secondary. But like we said, wine is not covered by the bread. Wine is independent. So chashuv, wine needs its own bracha, unless, like we said, if you have kiddush wine, then that covers the meal. So here we have a situation, the opposite, that the salty food is the main thing, and the bread is just coming to serve the salty food. Therefore, you don't need to say a bracha in this case on the bread. Ze'akla, and the Gemara will identify the case. Ze'akla, kol shu ikar. When you have an ikar, a main item, imot tefillah, and you have something that is secondary to it, so then you make the bracha mevarach al ikar upoter es tefillah. You say a bracha on the ikar, on the main thing, and that will go ahead and potes a tefillah. That will exempt the secondary thing. Therefore, if you have an apple pie and you make the bracha mezonot, the apple that's inside the pie you don't need to make a bracha on the apple that's inside the pie because it's secondary to the pie. If you have it by itself, you would say a bracha. It's not. Again, but the bracha is not. So it's in the salad. You make one bracha. If it's in the salads, you make adama, right? Right. Right. Oh, but if you can eat the other things separately, so then if the other thing requires a different bracha than the salad, then let's say you have. I would think if you have, let's say something you have, let's say eggs in the salad. And if you're gonna separate, if you eat it separately, then maybe it's not considered like it's separate. So then usually you would make a separate bracha on the thing that if you don't eat, for instance, let's say you have a fruit cup. The fruit cup has in it fruits from the tree and fruits from the ground, right? You have apples and you have pineapples, right? And grapes and all that. So if you eat them together, when they're mixed together, you say whatever the majority is, you say one bracha on the mix. But if you would take out one of those, let's say it's mostly pineapple. I would think if you pick out a grape from it and you're eating that separate, so then I would think you would say a separate bracha on the grape because you're not eating it as part of a mixture. Yes. Here you're having the salted food as the main thing, and the bread is only being eaten in order to be able to help keep down help or assist you eating the salted food. I need to have the bread to assist me in eating the salted food. I take a bite of salted food, and then I take a piece of bread or something like that. And the point of the bread is to help me because the salted food is too sharp for me to continue eating without having something else to help me get it down. So so the Gemara says that this.
If you're going to eat the avocado, if I'm going to take the bread on itself, I must do avocado.
No, but you said you're eating the avocado. You want to eat the avocado.
No,
you don't want to eat the bread with cake. You just
no,
want
if you
to eat
have,
it.
what we do if we
One
have, let's
second.
say, those crackers, we say mezonot. Would you put anything inside? And do mezonot is the other one is included.
We'll see more about this. We'll see what the Gemara will say. The Gemara will get more clarity. So the Gemara says, Kol she'ika zeh klal.
When you eat kibbeh, what you say? Okay.
But then you only.
And you have meat, you have everything.
Yeah, but it's already together.
Yeah.
Like, let's say you have.
This one also are together. You have avocado inside the two.
The card. Let's say you take your pork and shake only avocado. Still, I don't know.
So we'll have to see more about when you pick out an item. A lot of times we're saying so far we're saying like this: when things are mixed together, you eat it as one group. Then you'll go after, let's say, like we gave the case of the fruit cup. You go after the majority of the fruit cup and you say one bracha. But if you'll pick out something from it, generally you would say a separate bracha on the thing that you would pick out. That's what I would think. Miyaka midi, the Gemara says, is there such a phenomenon? Is there such a thing that is there a salted item that the bread is secondary to the salted item? Is there such a phenomenon? Isn't bread usually a main item? The Gemara says, what kind of case is it that the bread is coming so secondary to the because the bread usually is the thing that sustains you, that fills you up, and you're going to tell me that the bread is secondary. So the Gemara says, you know, the Kinneret, over that area, they produced amazing fruits, and they were very sweet. And because they were very sweet, you had to go ahead, and after you ate the fruits, you needed to have something salt. It was so sweet, you had to go ahead, and Tosfos says that the heart became weakened as a result of the sweetness of the fruits, and therefore they had to go ahead and have some salt. Maybe the doctor could explain this to us. They had the sweetness from the fruits was so sweet, the heart was weakened as a result of that, Tosfos says, and therefore they were to go ahead and have the salty item to get the heart back, get the heart back into where it needs to go, and then they needed to have the bread because of that salty item to be able to. So it was a fruit, then the salty item, and then the bread. And the bread was only there to help get down the salty item, or to dilute that salty item that you just ate. So that the Gemara says that's the case of that the bread is secondary. You weren't interested in eating bread. You're only interested in having the fruits, but because you had the fruits, then you had the salty item, and because you had the salty item, then you had to have the bread. And that's what the Gemara's case is. We'll see more tomorrow. We'll see more tomorrow. I'll start trying to address more of the questions that people are bringing up about things that are mixed and things that are separate. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you very
See
much.
everybody.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you, Yavor.
Have a good day, everyone.
Have a good day.
Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.